We begin with that phone call between the presidents of France and Russia. Emmanuel Macron and Vladimir Putin reportedly discussed a range of issues this Friday. The Élysée Palace says that President Macron expressed safety concerns about Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The plant is under the control of Russia, and Moscow and Kyiv are trading accusations over who's to blame for explosions near the site. For his part, Putin was said to have warned of a catastrophe at the facility. Also, Putin has apparently agreed to allow access by experts from the International Atomic Energy Agency to the site. We want to cross now to our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons in Kyiv. Rob, from what we've been able to gather, from what we're hearing, how significant was this phone call between Macron and Putin?
Well, Monty, it sounds like it's very significant because up until now, the Russians have been prevaricating. You remember just yesterday, 24 hours ago, the Russians were saying that they were not prepared to move their military forces, of which there are apparently 500 men, away from Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, who was in Lviv, had called on them to leave. He wants the area to be demilitarized. The Russians said they weren't prepared to do that. And we're advancing all kinds of objections and difficulties to the idea of sending an IAEA mission to Zaporizhzhia. So this does, on the surface of things, suggest that the Russians are shifting their position. There will be an awful lot still to talk about, and Mikhail Ulyanov, who's the Russian representative to international institutions in Vienna, including the IAEA, said, first of all, there will have to be discussion about what route the inspectors would have to take if they do go to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Will they go from Kiev, for instance, or will they have to go from somewhere else? How many inspectors will be allowed in? What are they going to be there to inspect? So there are an awful lot of things that have to be settled yet. But the fact that Vladimir Putin has agreed to this, as far as we know, is certainly a shift in the right direction.
Sure. A lot to sort out there. Rob, I also want to ask you about a visit by the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, to the port city of Odessa this Friday. He was there to push for an increase in exports of grain ahead of winter. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
It's time for massive and generous support so developing countries can purchase the food from these and other ports and people can buy it. Developing countries need access to financing now. They need debt relief now, and they need resources to invest in their people now.
Well, so Rob, the UN chief wants the exports of grain to be ramped up. What is the situation at the moment?
Yeah, I think everybody agrees that the exports of grain do have to be ramped up. There is a world food crisis at the moment, but as things stand, I don't think Antonio Guterres is going to be leaving Odessa with any agreement in his briefcase. The situation is that the ships are moving. 25 have moved from Odessa's ports since the agreement was struck almost 4 weeks ago with Russia, but much more needs to be done. The situation at the end of 4 weeks is that 600,000 tons of grain, soya, sunflower oil and other foodstuffs have been moved and have moved to Africa, to Italy, to other countries all around the world. But Ukraine, by the end of the harvest, which is very soon, will have 44 million tons of grain and other foodstuffs in its silos and warehouses in and around Odessa, which will have to be moved. And at the rate at which they're going about it now, it'll be well into next year before much of it is moved. That's not quick enough. So further agreement has to be reached between the Russians and the Ukrainians. There is a suggestion that the Russians will be on board on this, since they have grain that they want to ship out. They have fertilizer that they want to ship out. But so far, there isn't agreement on speeding things up, but the agreement may be around the corner.
Okay, our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons, there in Kyiv. I know you've had a long stretch there in Ukraine, and you're heading back home here next week. We look forward to seeing you.